Hi, how are you today? I now want to look at the final part of chapter 23, and in this podcast I want to look at three new types of strategy. There is disintermediation, reintermediation and navigators. Let me start with disintermediation. There is a legacy distribution system for a manufacturer where you have the manufacturer shown in grey on the left, and it distributes its products through distributors or agents and through retailers ultimately to customers. With deconstruction, it is possible to excise those links, and if we excise those links, we must reduce the costs so that the firm can communicate directly with the customer and the customer can communicate directly with the firm. The best and probably one of the most successful examples of this, of course, is Ryanair. And there is Ryanair's figures from September 2008 to September 2009, and it has been absolutely amazing. And if we look at another part of their website, we can have their statement on how their average fares have gone down, etc., etc., etc. Ryanair has successfully disintermediated. The sort of opposite of that is reintermediation, where if we look at, say, an example of how a potential buyer deals with a car dealer. The car dealer will distribute on behalf of the manufacturer, and the potential buyer will deal with the car dealer. Well, we have had reintermediation where a new link or layer is put into the value chain. An example is the company AutoBuyTel. Now, AutoBuyTel will send customers to dealers who are more than likely that they will buy. Here's an example of an AutoBuyTel website from 2009. And let me move on to the third type, which is the navigator. And again, I'll use the car industry to illustrate this. You know, if you are thinking of buying a new car, let's say you have in mind a Ford or a Volkswagen or a BMW or a Mercedes or a Toyota or a Volvo, and you're not quite sure which, it's such a tedious thing to visit every website. It's such a tedious thing to flick through their catalogues. It's such a tedious thing to visit them. Why not have an internet database where all the catalogues of all the manufacturers are aggregated and then you can access it? Navigators. Here's an example of one from the UK called motoring.co.uk. All this is very confusing, and one of the ways that I have sought to understand it is to use a biological analogy. Every organism has a nervous system, and the nervous system transmits essential information around its body and from the environment. Without it, the organism will perish. And in terms of the human nervous system, here is a diagram of it. In my opinion, what we have today for all internet firms, for orchestrators, layer masters, disintermediators, reintermediators and navigators, 100% internet-based procedures, it's accelerating. We can understand this, we can get a handle on it, we can get a grasp on it through the nervous system which I talked about earlier. So here we have the global electronic nervous system where we have navigators, orchestrators and layer masters all connected to each other. And we can take this a little further and put on some more and some more and some more and load it up and more and more. So we have this tangled asymmetrical web of information around the world, which becomes very complex when you look at it like that. However, it's fairly certain now that we can say every firm now has an electronic nervous system, internal and external. This nervous system transmits essential information around itself and from the environment. And without it, any firm will perish. If your firm is not in the system, it will perish. Maybe not today, but it will in the future. So we have to opt into this system. This is my conclusion. The internet is an unsymmetrical, non-incremental, untidy, largely undefined and chaotic competitive arena. But in evolutionary biology, we now understand that organisms and the environment interact and compete, and the winning organisms survive. In terms of the internet, we could argue that in internet evolutionary biology, the internet is the competitive environment in which firms exist and compete with one another, and those which do it most successfully will survive or indeed prosper. I want to conclude by saying, in my opinion, habitually winning firms adapt to and change the competitive landscape, and they navigate through it using the timeless rules of strategy, which are summarised, of course, by the strategy compass. That more or less concludes everything I want to say on this particular section. As usual, the credits are mostly Apple, and I want to thank you for listening to this series of podcasts. I hope that you enjoyed them, and goodbye, and maybe more importantly, good luck. Goodbye.